Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, Donald Trump has called himself a proud Christian, but none other than the Pope begs to differ. On a flight back from his tour of Mexico, the pontiff declared that the presidential hopeful's desire to build a wall on the Mexican border to keep out immigrants was not Christian. Donald Trump has now responded, and typically he hasn't held back. Well, let's go live now to our Washington correspondent, Kylie Morris. So, Kylie, take us through all this.
Well, Kathy, just when you thought this presidential race couldn't possibly get any stranger, yes, today Donald Trump, the Republican frontrunner who we know of as being very combative, he pushes back against any criticism against him, and today he pushed back against the Pope. And the background to this is that the Pope has held a very successful visit to Mexico over the past few days. Yesterday, before leaving, he held an extraordinary mass right on the American-Mexican border, the United States-Mexican border, where there were tens of thousands of worshippers on both sides of that, within sight of the American border guards. Now, he was making a point about immigration and about the need to deal with immigration in a compassionate and humane way. Now, when he got back on his plane, he was asked a question about Donald Trump, about the guy who wants to build a wall exactly where he was holding that mass. And this is what he said.
And then a person who only thinks about making walls again and again and not making bridges is not a Christian.
The Pope did go on to say that he would look more closely at Donald Trump's comments in context, but his meaning was fairly clear. Donald Trump decided to be clear as well. He responded just a few hours later. Now, normally he speaks off the cuff, but this time, as you'll see, he was actually speaking from notes, and he was very deliberate in his response, and he began with talking about ISIS.
If and when the Vatican is attacked by ISIS, which, as everyone knows, is ISIS's ultimate trophy, I can promise you that the Pope would have only wished and prayed that Donald Trump would have been president. For a religious leader to question a person's faith is disgraceful.
So this is really all win for Donald Trump, if you can imagine that. Looking at the political commentary and the way that voters in South Carolina, where they are due to vote on the Republican race in the next 2 days, are reacting, their view is that what they appreciate about Donald Trump, or what Donald Trump supporters like about him, is that he is plain speaking, that he pushes back, that he's honest, that he doesn't deal with the establishment as the establishment is used to being dealt with, that he's a bit of a rebel. And so for people who support him for those reasons, this really just plays into that narrative. Also in South Carolina, there aren't very many Catholics. They're mainly evangelical. The question will be further down the line whether or not, when Donald Trump, if he becomes the nominee, is reaching for 51% support in the United States, then the question will be whether or not more broadly swing voters decide that this is something that hurts him or helps him.
The Pope and the Donald. Thank you, Kylie.